Librado Andrade, thank you very much for coming on to theboxingbar.com and welcome, my friend.
Thank you guys for inviting me, and thank you for having me here today.
You know, the other day when you said you would come on, I was I kind of laughed a little bit because I was thinking of the first time I remember seeing your name and seeing actually your brother fight. I think I saw your brother fight Enrique for the first time before I saw you, anyways. But after that, I think I saw you the next time fight, and I was like, wow, I thought his name was Enrique or something else, but I guess not. So I thought you guys were the same person. Down the line, I realized that you guys were two different people, but then I was like, wait, but they're saying something about brothers, and one's Ornelas and the other one's, Andrade. And then sometimes they would say his name as Andrade or Ornelas and you two. And man, I got confused. It took me a long time before I realized you guys are two different people, man, and that you guys are brothers. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what do you usually go by? Or, even on BoxRec, I was looking you up. You're under Andrade and he's under Ornelas. I'm sure I'm not the only one that was going crazy there with your guys' names.
No, it used to happen often. What happened is if you see me and my brother apart, we look alike.
Yeah.
But if you see us together, we look totally different. So that was the funny part, right? And the other part is that we both have the same dad and mom. But when he was born, he didn't get my father's last name. And I got my father's last name and my mother's last name. But then he only got my mother's last name.
Wow.
So that's what happened. So that's why. So he is Andrade Ornelas, but without my father. So he never actually give him the Andrade. In Mexico, it's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing. But they suggested that he should be named Andrade like me, but he never wanted to. He says, no, I do not want to be but the same. I want to keep my Andrade with my mom. And Librado can be Andrade Ornelas if he wants. And that's how I went, Librado Andrade Ornelas. But that was why. And a lot of people thought that Andrade was my middle name. It's actually my last name. Yeah.
And at the moment, you're in Nevada, right? You're in Nevada somewhere?
Yes. I moved in 2005. I moved here to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, you're in Las Vegas. What's the weather like over there right now?
It's hot. It got hot all of a sudden. From 1 week to another, it started just getting hot.
Yeah, I'm in Northern California, and that's where I live now. I lived all my life in Southern California, but a couple of years ago I moved up here. And man, it's hot. This week it got at its hottest. It went from being like in the 70s to now I think it reached almost 100 today. And we're on the same boat, I think, there.
A lot of people forget that California actually is a desert. All of that green and stuff like that is almost man-made.
Yeah.
But it's desert.
That's true. Only the coastal areas is what's kind of cool, but other than that, it's all desert, like you said.
Yeah.
And what about the virus stuff and all that going on? How are you guys handling that over there? What is it like right now?
Yeah, it's still like a ghost town. There's not a lot of fuss about it here. Everything went out to kind of normal. There's not big changes. Not a lot of people got infected. It was very minimal. But knowing that this place, everyone comes from all over the world, and that was the risk. So they closed everything. A lot of people were just going to the strip or Las Vegas Boulevard just to ride their bikes and get the feel of nobody being there. So if you drive now, if you go over there, there's a lot of people going on bikes. A lot. Like everywhere. Because they're taking advantage of nobody being there.
Wow.
So it's like a unique time where you see a place that is so busy, then it's like a ghost town, and probably you're never gonna be able to see it again like that, So it's one of those events that it's by itself. Nothing's there. The casinos are closed.
Right.
Everything is closed. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, one would think about this thing. The funny thing was like a lot of people are going crazy about, this was a thing from the government. This was a thing they made this up. They made it. Well, it doesn't matter. The problem is that it's out there.
Yep.
The problem is it's loose. Like we can't do nothing about what the government has done, or if it's a conspiracy, or if it's planned, or if it's whatever it is. The problem is that if we move, this virus is going to move with us.
There's nothing positive about the actual virus, but the positive that you kind of get out of it is how everybody is trying to appreciate more what they had. We used to see things for whatever. and now even buying toilet paper, we appreciate it a little more now, and
right?
just those little things make you appreciate God and what you had at one time, a little
Yeah,
bit
so
more.
it does give you another perspective. It
Yeah.
does give you another perspective of life and appreciate the way
Hmm.
you live. The things you take for
For
granted,
granted, yeah,
things that you put a little more mind to it, which
yeah.
is good. You know?
And let's get to know you a little bit. You were originally from Guanajuato, right, Mexico?
Yeah, Jesus del Monte, Guanajuato. I was born in a city called San Francisco del Rincon, which
Mm.
is called San Pancho. But we come from a very small town just outside, like 15 miles from San Francisco del Rincon, another 15 miles from León, Guanajuato. So it's a little town outside of this big city, which is León, and a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger than my town, which is San Francisco del Rincon. I was born there. It's like a farm, little town, until everybody decided to migrate to the United States. So then it became dependent of the United States. So a lot of people migrate to the United States. A lot of families are here, and that's how that town is kind of being supported by the people that live here, and they send money there. But that's where I come from. A very small town in Guanajuato.
You know what's sad? Even though my both my parents are from Mexico, my mom's from Jalisco near Guadalajara, a little town called Tecolotlan, and my dad was from La Ciudad de San Luis Potosí. But unfortunately, you know what? I've never been to Mexico. I went to Tijuana, but you don't really count that. When I was a kid, I was like maybe 10, 12 years old, and that was the only time I ever went to Mexico. And
Yeah.
I never went back there again. But hearing from what everybody talks about, they talk about Guanajuato, they always bring up Las Momias.
Right.
Is there a lot of history with that over there?
Well, a lot of people call it Las Momias, but they're
Mm.
not momias. I didn't start learning about where I came from until like 2008. Actually, right before I fought Bute the first time.
Mm.
We went for a photo shoot, and when I went, they took me to Montreal, and there was a festival going on there. The festival was the Jazz Festival. I actually never been out in the world too much, for the exception when I fought Mikkel Kessler when I went to Denmark. So I was sitting by a fountain, and I was amazed at this jazz festival. There was festivals everywhere. Well, I mean, little concerts going on, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I've never seen something like this. And there was a lot of people, beautiful people, well dressed. It was in the summertime. So I sat down by this fountain, and I was just amazed about all this movement, all these people and stuff like that. So I sit there and I was admiring, and this lady sits next to me. So I started asking her about what was going on. She says, "This is called a jazz festival." And then I said, "Wow, this is so beautiful." And then she looked at me, because you look like you're from somewhere else. You're not from here, from Montreal, are you? I said, "No, I'm from Mexico." "Oh, really? What part of Mexico?" And I said, "Guanajuato, Mexico." She looked at me, she crossed her arm, and she says, "You are amazed by this? And you know where you come from?" I said, "No, you come from one of the most beautiful cities in the world." And I said, "Really?" "Yes. Do you know the history of your state?" And she was from there, from Montreal. And I said, "No." "Well, just that it's Mexico. I don't know." She says, "No, I'm going to ask you for something. I'm going to tell you a little bit about your state, and go back and learn about your country. And wherever you go, talk about where you come from." So I said, "Really? So what's so amazing about my country, or the place I come from?"
You have a stranger telling you about your own country.
Yes, this woman. She was very nice. She's from Montreal.
Mhm.
The people from Montreal are very beautiful, beautiful people.
Yeah.
They're very well spoken. They're very educated. Most of them speak 4 languages, 3 languages. And there's so much culture. You can talk with anybody about anything.
Yeah.
They're so open. They're so patient. They're so educated. And to me, it's just amazing how sometimes we think America is the greatest,
Mhm.
but in reality, there's so much beautiful out there, including Mexico. But
Yeah.
going on with this story, not getting sidetracked, she says, in October, they have a festival there, and it's called El Cervantino, and they do it for about a month, close to a month. And it's a festival. Every day there's concerts. Every day there is something going on. The city gets filled with people. Never heard of that before. And it's like right there, 30 minutes away from where I was born. The Cervantino in the month of October is a huge festival that happens in Guanajuato. A lot of people go. Uh, the city of Guanajuato was constructed as, I would say, it's like a very colonial, like the likes of Spain and places in Europe and Zacatecas and where you come from, which is not your father comes from, San Luis Potosí,
Hmm.
which is very beautiful, very unexplored. You don't hear much about San Luis Potosí,
Right.
but it's there's a lot of beautiful places there that nobody goes to because nobody gives them like all this to talk about, you know. But soon I will go there and I will show you some pictures.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It's the most beautiful place of Mexico.
What was it like being raised there in Guanajuato as a kid and growing up there? What was
Well,
Mexico like growing up?
we lived in Mexico until I was 10 years old and my brother was 8 years old. We lived between León, Guanajuato, which my mother migrated from the little town that we were in. We were born. She went to the city when my brother was born. A couple months after he was born, she moved to the city because of my brother, my older brother, and she started living there. So basically, we went back and forth from the big city to the little town. And we actually liked living in the little town because we were free. We were always out in the mountains, out and about, just never going to school, just being out in the mountains. And when we would go to the city, my mom had us a little bit more supervision. She would not let us go out too much. We were just a little bit trapped. But we got to live like right in the middle of León, Guanajuato, which is right in the plaza, right in the center, which is a beautiful place. So I got to see all this. I had this beautiful childhood when I was growing up because we were so protected by our mother and we never saw bad things. We had necessity of everything. We wanted all of that stuff, but we never really had a necessity for anything. We had food, we had a roof, and we had lots of love by my mother. And that was basically our life. My mom really protected us. She really sheltered us, and we just grew up like that. And when we came to United States in 1989, it was a whole new world. I'd never seen TV in color except whoever had a TV, and we just glanced at it once in a while. But when we came here, everyone had a color TV. It was like amazing. When I first came here, they had I took a shower on a tub. I've never had taken a shower on a tub. We used to take a shower out like in the patio, or in the room with a little can and just pour water on top of us. Here it was another world. It was incredible. So that was kind of like our childhood.
And that transition from you being, like you said, living in the conditions that you were in Mexico and then coming to all this luxury,
Yeah.
if you can remember that long, because it's been a long time, but was it like a big, crazy transition that you had to get used to? Or was it easy to get used to because there was, you had so much of it?
It was very hard for me.
Mm.
It wasn't that hard for my brother. I didn't learn how to speak English for 6 years, even though I was a kid. But I kind of refused. I always thought we were gonna go back. Um, for many months or years or whatever you want to call it, I always thought my dad is gonna show up one weekend, come pick us up, and go back. My brother, he learned how to speak English like in 2 years, real fast. Me, I went to school in middle school, sixth grade, and in Mexico, we kind of didn't go to school because every time they sent us to school, we would go to the mountains instead of going to school. So my Spanish wasn't that well. I couldn't really write or read well in Spanish. So it was very difficult for me to now learn a new language and learn to write and learn to read and talk. And I just couldn't do it.
That's crazy. You had to learn everything pretty much at a later age then.
Yes, when I was 10. So
Wow.
and I kind of refused in a way. I was a little bit rebel because I always thought, you know what, my dad's going to come on this weekend and that's it. I don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
never came. So when
Wow.
I went to high school, I was very behind on whatever I supposed to be. When I was 15 years old, I just took off. I said, you know what, I had enough. And my mom let me. So I came home. I was 15. I said, Mom, I don't want to go back to school. I said, okay, Nico, this is it. Like, you're going to start working. This is life. There's no going back. It's okay. I'll just start working.
Wow.
So we went to Santana. They bought me a fake ID. I was 18 now. I started working at a Jack in the Box. And that was my life for the next 11 years, working at a Jack in the Box and training in the afternoons boxing. Until 2005, I was able to quit working at Jack in the Box.
A few years back, I had a little question and answer with you. I don't know if you remember, but I asked you about like 10 questions more or less. And I kind of asked you about how you got started in boxing and all that stuff. And I remember you brought up
Mhm.
Julio Gonzalez and that he was
Right.
a sparring partner, I believe, of your brother.
Yeah.
Was that how you started in boxing? Is
Well, we were the sparring for Julio. Julio was one of these guys that you would go into the gym and he would just literally kick your ass. He would not hold back. Every time you spar with him, he would beat you up, like really bad. Nobody wanted to spar with him because he never wanted to work. Uh, but that was his mentality. That was the way he got ready for a fight and stuff like that. And in a way, we understood him. So when he started coming to La Habra, and they used to travel all over to get sparring, and nobody lasts just a few. And back then, nobody used to get paid for sparring. We used to do it for free. So Julio started needing sparring, and they asked me and my brother, "Hey, you guys want to spar with Julio?" Yeah, we'll spar with Julio. So Julio used to come to the gym ready to fight. He was a professional of 8 fights already. We kind of grew up with him when we were kids in middle school. We used to train together. Then he left to Westminster, and that's where he went back to Mexico and represented Mexico for the Olympics in Atlanta, 1996.
that's right?
Then he turned pro in 90, that same year probably. And in 1998, we started sparring with him. He was a professional of 8 fights. And we remember him when he was a kid, so we consider ourselves friends. So we used to spar together, and Julio used to beat the crap out of us. So me and my brother, we decided one day and said, you know what, Kiki, when Julio leaves, we're gonna work really hard so when he comes back, we can hang with him. So that was the plan, and we did it. So every time Julio would come back, we would be a little bit strong. Julio would leave, make his money, come back, and that was it. One day, Dave Martinez from the Harvard Boxing Club, he says, you guys don't want to just fight a professional fight just to see what it feels like. You guys spar so hard. You guys are handling Julio. He's a professional of 10 fights. You guys can hang with him. You guys do really good. And just so you guys could get paid or get a fight out of this. And I said, okay, we'll fight. And it happened that that month I needed money for my rent because I used to work at Jack in the Box and sometimes I would get another job on the side or whatever. But I said, you know what, perfect. $400 is a week of work. I'll do it. So that was my first paycheck, $100. Plus they used to take $25 for insurance and we used to get paid $375 for 4 rounds with Roy Inglebrook. So I fought at the racetrack in Santa Anita, is that what they call it?
Los Alamitos.
Los Alamitos, I think. Yeah. So what they used to do was they do a race and then a fight, a race and a fight, and the horse racetrack.
Really?
Yep. So that was my first fight there against Marcus Harvey. Marcus Harvey used to, he was a trainer at with Freddie Roach. With,
Oh, wow.
he used to train people there. So he was like 3-1 and 1 or 2 draws, and he needed a fight. So I said, "Yeah, I'll fight him." And it was horrible. I just came out like if you see the first fight in Rocky Balboa, that was me. I just came lazy. I didn't care. I just knew I was in such a good shape. So I won that fight, and I said, "Hey, I could do this. This is good. I could do this." So then they got me another fight, and I won again and again and again. I was like, "Hey, I started believing in myself." But it was because we used to grind so hard. We used to get ready and train really hard. We were fighting 4 rounds, but we would train like if we were fighting for 10 rounds. And every time in the gym it was a war. So we had we had a lot of fun, growing up with Julio and my brother Enrique and many others that came into boxing. They stayed there for a little bit and then they left. But many others that came by.
And all this start as a boxer that you're saying you pretty rush fast. You went from being a sparring partner to trying to actually do it in the ring and then doing it. But would you say that you had to really try hard to become good, or would you say a lot of it was natural, physical strength or ability
It,
that you
it,
had?
it just happened. I
Yeah.
think it was one of those things. It just happened. I'm going to be very honest with you and with everyone. I never had a dream to become a world champion. I never had dreams of making money and doing this. Um, I really wanted to quit boxing. I I had a lot of pressure at home. I was fighting 12 rounds and I was not getting paid anything. I would fight in HBO Latino. I would fight for Golden Boy. I thought life was going to change when we signed with Golden Boy, but it didn't. We used to get peanuts. We used to get $12,000 to fight 12 rounds. And I said, you know what? I'm always hurt. My hands are always hurting. I'm always cut. I'm always this. I'm always. Uh, Maybe I should just get a job. Like back then, my wife used to tell me all the time, which is my ex-wife now. She used to tell me all the time, I don't know why you do this. You're not making any money. You're not making anything. Look at you. You're all beat up all the time. Just get a job. Get a good job. Quit boxing. And for a second, I said, you know what? Yeah, I had enough. I was 24-0. I was ranked number 1 on the WBO. It was mandatory for Joe Kozak. I was ranked like number 3 on the WBA, like number 2 in the WBC, and I didn't even know. I used to show up to work on Monday, serve the coffee, take care of my customers. My customers didn't even know I was a fighter, and that was life for me back then. And it was early 2000, until one day everything changed for me. One day when Al Heyman he called me like if he was my friend, like if he was a fan. He said, I know he had a deep voice and says, hello, this is Librado Andrade. I said, yes. He says, well, I'm a fan of yours and I'd like to see you fight. When is your next fight? Oh, I said, I think I'm quitting boxing. I haven't fought in a year and I think I'm done. Nothing has happened. I have problems with Golden Boy. I'm going nowhere, so I think that's it. So he says, is there anything I can do to help you get back in the ring? And I said, really? He says, will you let me help you? I said, yes. He says, would you like to meet me? Yes. So I went, I met him. He had a conversation with us. I asked him, do you believe in God? And he said, yes. I think it's him. But anyway,
Yeah.
I get a little emotional still.
Take your time. From the start, like what you're saying about how you lived in Mexico, came over here, you were on your own pretty much from early years, working at a fast food, and now you found something that actually, got you guys, a little bit of attention in boxing, but still not making money, and now you have some open doors here, open
Yeah.
opportunities, and you end up fighting a couple guys, Otis Grant, Richard Grant. They had names, and
Yeah,
they got
Cal Kessler, the Sam Booth, I got to
yeah.
fight all over the world. It was amazing. for me that I never expected. Really, I never expected anything. I just needed extra money to pay my rent.
Yeah. Wow, man, life is crazy. Life is
Yeah,
crazy. And Richard
yeah,
Grant was known for, the terrible, incident that happened with, that he had got punched after a fight, not too long before. You beat both
yeah. Against Butler or something like that.
Butler. Yes, he ended up doing
Yeah,
something even worse in life, and he's in prison for forever now for killing I believe it's Max Kellerman's brother.
yeah,
And so unfortunately, that was a bad ending to a boxing story there. You end up going up, get in line, and you fight Mikkel Kessler in Denmark, Copenhagen,
right,
for the
right.
WBC and the WBA championship. Man, and you went, like you said, from making peanuts to having all eyes on you in a different country, but you had the hunger and you had the opportunity there in front of you that you thought you would never have, your dream shot. What was it
Yeah,
like? What was it like in that car, knowing that, getting that news that you're gonna, now everything's about to change in your life. Whether you win or lost, it was gonna be something different that in your life that happened where you knew you were somebody.
right.
What was that like?
It was terrifying. It was terrifying, man. It's like you're in another country. It was just me, a manager, Sylvia Blanc. She works for him, and she's a CEO for PBC. They are family now. Back then, they decided to make me family, and they kept me as family, and I'm still with them as family. So it was just us. There was like what 30,000 people playing, 5,000 plus in a stadium,
Wow.
and every day was they used to do interviews with me, and well, I got to understand a little bit of the game back then,
Hmm.
and it was like they used to bug me all the time. They wouldn't even. There was a big old line every time I trained, and it was crazy. It was like, what the heck is happening? Like I could not comprehend what was going on. Actually, this is the way I put it. This is the way when I go back, I said I should have like a warrior. If they wouldn't have asked me nothing and no questions, no interviews, no taking me back to my childhood, no nothing, I think I would have done a lot better. They disarmed me. I let them. I let them get into my mind, and they disarmed me. They kept taking me back to my childhood. They kept taking me back to my life. Uh, there's one thing about boxers or fighters. We want to leave whatever was behind us, and we see the future. We're unstoppable. We train so hard. We get so ready. But then you get to those interviews, and little by little they pound you, and then they ask you certain questions, and they take you back. Then little by little you start discerning yourself. You're not that invincible warrior anymore. And it's all about the questions sometimes they ask you. You know, I remember one day, one of the nights, going back to the room, and I was exhausted, not physically, mentally, in Denmark. And I said, "Shit, this is hard. Like living like this is hard. Always interviews, always talking. I never had that before." So when I show up to the stadium, and you see all these people roaring for somebody else, and you're in the middle of all this noise and roaring and everything, you feel like a little ant. And when Miguel Kessler shows up and he walks in there, they make him feel like he's a giant. And you feel like, holy shit, where I got myself into?
Yeah.
So, so those things, that's why we gotta put a lot of respect to the fighters that go to another country and they come back victorious.
Do you think that did a lot to your psyche or what your mentality while you were in that fight or during that fight or before that fight? In other words, were the lights too bright for you because you had never been
Yeah,
on a big huge stage like this with all the everything on you?
yep. I could
Yeah.
cheers to the ones that step up and they seize the moment and they show up and they elevate themselves to the moment. I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
What was your hunger like going into that fight, or were you too much feeling like a celebrity at this point?
No, none of that. None of that things. I was just, the moment was too big for me. It
Yeah,
was like, holy shit, I never thought I would be here.
yeah,
Like, it was unimaginable. You know how some fighters think, where they say, I will start this, I will dream of this. I didn't.
yeah.
I, I couldn't grasp, I couldn't see it, I couldn't grab a hold on to it. Like I didn't step up. And Mikhail Kessler, he had it all the time. He fought under those circumstances all the time.
Yeah.
He was a celebrity back then. They left him alone. They let him train. They let him get ready. He was at home. I was there at the time. I was there as a guest. I was there, and I just couldn't grasp the moment, you know. But now, that being said, when I fought Lucian the first time, I did. I knew what it was like, and it didn't bother me because we had so many people. We had the Bell Center filled up, and it didn't affect me whatsoever. I was relentless. I was unstoppable.
After that Kessler fight, like you said, you learned a lot from it. He was 38-0. I mean, after a fight like that, it's your first loss. Well, what does it do? What does a first loss do for a fighter? I know there's some fighters that come back stronger, which is very few nowadays. But a lot of fighters today, they get one loss and they go down the drain. They go and not fight for a while because they're so shot mentally because they can't believe they lost. What was your first loss like for you mentally?
I don't know. I don't even remember. All I know was that I was bummed. I came back to America and on the trip here, I did feel a little bit like I don't know whatever. But in a way, it's like I talked to myself and I said, no, but I got so far. But I was just expecting that I was gonna get maybe to a state title. Look, I went all the way across the world and fought for the world title, not for a state title, And so I left it. I shook it off right away. I said, you know what? I did. But then Al Heyman, he talked to me and he said, you know what? They want to see you back. They want to see you fight again. And I said, why? Because you came to fight. And then I said, yeah, that's right. I got to fight. I prepared myself for a fight. So that changed again. So you know what? Every time I go, I'm just going to show up to fight, and that's it. The rest, I don't care. I don't care if I lose, I don't care. Whatever happens, I'm just going to show up. That changed.
And after that fight, you lose that one, and then you came back and won your next 3 fights. And, you even fought Yusuf Mack, Robert Stiglitz, which were, they had great records, 23-1. Robert had 31-1. I mean, they weren't slouches that you were just trying to pick up your name. They were wins. They were real wins. Then you go on and you fight Butte for the first time. What was that like, going into, again, to somebody else's backyard in Canada and having to do this again with what you had on in the past there, with the experience of losing in Denmark? What was it like going into Canada that first time?
The first time was when I fought Otis Grant. So when I was already there, so I was familiar with them. And I went back and I trained over there. Mm-hmm. And then it just happened that I had to be the mandatory for Lucian. But this time, I just knew I was stronger than before because I knew that mentally I was stronger and physically I was stronger. I didn't even know I could take a punch when I fought Kessler. Honestly, I didn't used to get hit. The way I fought changed when I fought Kessler because I didn't used to get hit that much. But then I didn't care. I said, you know what? They would have to hit me really, really hard to block. Yusuf Mack hit me on that first round, but in a way I was stepping back. And when I dip in, and then I pull my head straight back, and that's when he hit me. And he kind of got me with one foot on the air. So, but then I recovered. I got up real fast, and it was like nothing. So I knew I could take a shot now.
I remember watching all this on the Spanish stations, all the different fights they used to have, Solo Boxeo and all that stuff. And, they used to put like, all right, the news, the boxing news in between the fights, they put the boxing news and they would bring your fights up. And that's when, they started realizing, we have a guy here. A lot of people don't recognize it, but, you were at the time, today there's Canelo, middleweight from Mexico.
Yeah.
There was even Andy Ruiz that, was a heavyweight champion that became heavyweight champion today. But back then, there was nobody past the 147, 154, range. And you were a super middleweight. You were like, you were like something different. You were like the Mexican that the biggest, I think, most successful Mexican at the time.
That veneer. Yeah, and Julio. Don't forget Julio. Julio
Yeah,
Gonzalez
Julio was a
became
light
world
heavyweight.
champion.
Yeah, and he beat Darius Michalczewski, and in Germany with I think he was 48-0. He was gonna break the record or gonna tie the record with Rocky Marciano being 49-0, but Julio stopped that actually.
Yeah, so that fight was like historical in either way.
Yep.
Whatever was gonna happen in that fight was gonna be historical.
Yep.
And Julio did it.
And Julio did
We
it.
were so happy for him. We sparred with him. We trained with him.
Yeah.
We were so happy.
And not even Roy Jones wanted to go to, because Michalczewski, back at that time before Roy Jones's losses, he wouldn't go to Germany to fight.
Exactly.
Michalczewski, Michalczewski would say, you come over here, and Roy would say, no, I'm the real champ. You come over here. It never happened. Julio went over there with not a problem, and he did it. So
yeah,
that was awesome,
yeah, exactly.
man. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So Butte, man, I mean, your fight with him, it ends up being a loss by unanimous decision, but you made an account for yourself, and I'm sure that's like they say in Spanish, una espina, in your career there. How did you take that loss right there with against someone like Butte?
Ooh, it was hard. It took me a while to come to an agreement with myself to accept that fight. To accept that I lost. You know what? I didn't lose. Everybody saw me.
Yeah, man, that was
even to date. Yeah. There's referees that fight comes up for referees to get studied so they can better their refereeing, so they can better what happens in the ring. Mm-hmm. So these things doesn't happen. The Nevada Commission has now instant replay, like in basketball, but there's a lot of changes for those things that happen. So they don't happen because it's unfair. That piece of history belongs to us, and we train so hard, we fight so hard. Not everybody gets to be multiple champion and move around like Canelo and all of these other fighters, like pick and choose who you're going to beat so you can become a world champion. Not everybody has that luxury, Some fighters actually they have to prove themselves and really fight. And it's unfair in boxing because all of these fighters, like me, like there is other fighters, let's say for example, Mauricio Herrera, other fighters that they come to fight. They are the ones that really make the champions. Without us, without them, there wouldn't be no great champions. So they deserve the credit. We deserve the credit. And at the end of our careers, so at the end of everything, the only thing we're left is with our bragging rights anyway.
And like you said, Mauricio suffered a lot of those losses that should have been wins, but right. Wow, I'm sure, I'm sure at home he's still scratching his head about a lot of that stuff, and that's boxing, I guess.
Yes, and these are the ones that make boxing great. Right. These are the ones that really make boxing alive. Right. It's not really the other guys. The other guys are just the superstars. They're just the face. Right. They're just the lucky ones that they choose to make them champions and celebrities of boxing. But in reality, the true challenges, the ones that we present, are the ones that really makes them champions.
People are actually realizing that. That's why they're jumping and watching something else now. They go to MMA or something because they got tired of it, man. You don't know how many people just said, "Hey, I used to watch boxing." Me being a boxing fan, trust me, I go around asking people all the time, and so many people just said, I used to watch it, but I don't, all the decisions, everything, all the politics, I don't watch it anymore, and that's the type of stuff, and I'm sure you know about that more than anything, suffering, what you went through. And it was kind of like, what you went through there with that fight. It was kind of like what happened with Maldrick Taylor and Chavez, but it was the other way around, like it went to the decision, but the other, it's like if Taylor would have gone to the decision and then,
I said, you know what? I actually had Lucien worse than Chavez had
Taylor.
Taylor was on his feet off the rope, and Lucien was hanging on the rope. In the fifth round, when I was fighting Lucien, I connected him in the fifth round. We were in one of the neutral corners. I remember it vividly, like if it just happened, like if we were going into the sixth round So we engaged, or I kind of trapped them on the neutral corner, and I threw like a hook right or something like that, and I hurt him, and I can sense it. When he grabbed me, his energy was somewhere else, and I thought to myself at that second, tonight I'm gonna be a world champion. I said that to myself, and the bell rang, and Martin and Wright separated us, and I walked to my corner, and as I was walking to my corner, I said, tonight I'm going to be a world champion. There's no lie. Then the 6 came, and he was moving. So I'm catching next round, the 7, the 8, the 9. I was like, what the heck? What's happening? So every time Marlon Wright kept separating us, he would take me, like, he would lean on me and take me all the way out. At the heat of the moment, I couldn't realize it, but he was doing it every time. And I was like, what the heck is happening? He's about to stop the fight. So in the 11th round, I really thought he was going to stop the fight. So back a little bit. When he dropped me, he actually pushed. And Marlon Wright, before I got up, I just went down and got up. He was an 8 already. When he was counting so fast. But when Lucian got dropped, he counted so slow. I was sitting in that corner and said, what the heck is happening? I really thought he was going to stop the fight way before. That's why I was hesitant. I said, what do I have to do? Kill him? It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
You know, we could watch a fight on TV like we did, you know, watching that fight. And, you know, we don't see everything or hear everything that's going on in there. What was the crowd like that night, you know, after, you know, they announced him as a winner?
They were loud. They were loud. Like, I remember, louder than Kessler. When I fought Kessler, they were really loud, but the stadium was open. So now this was loud, but since we were at the Bell Center, you could hear a lot more, the echo. You could feel it in the center of the ring. But when I dropped it on that 12th round, you can see all the people, and I could hear everyone, going like that, right? So when I dropped him, he was silent. You can only hear Marlon Wright screaming. He was the only one that you could hear the whole stadium. Get back to the corner, get back to the corner. I was just holding my head, my hands in my head, said, he's just gonna wave it out. He's gonna stop the fight. That's it. He's done. He's not getting up. So he got the ropes. He's climbing up the ropes. He's hanging on the ropes, and I can see him looking away, just out. And I thought he was gonna turn around, look at him, ask him to step forward. There was no way he was gonna step forward and wave it off. He never did. I was like, I stood in that moment, like it stopped, and the crowd stopped, and then it was like unreal, everything. Like I go back and I see pictures, I can see everybody's mouth open, and I can still hear that, whoa! And it was just, I could say, amazing. That's it.
You know, how do you stay motivated to like come back and fight, or did you lose motivation for that?
I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost it. The next fight I fought, and a lot of shit happened. They didn't give me the rematch. They always say, "Oh, we give them the rematch." No, I had a fight for my right to fight you again. I love to see him. He's my friend and everything, but what the boxing business is, the business is totally different. You know,
right.
As a person, I feel I have so much respect for him. We can sit anytime and talk about our families. I love his family and everything, you know. And we're actually friends. I consider him my friend. But that night, I won, and it's just you can't really grasp it, you know. It was one of those things with Mikhail Kessler. He beat me fair and square. I couldn't live up to the occasion, but on the Buta fight, I did.
Yeah, your moment was stolen that night, man. And for the next few fights, you know, you fought again after that against Vitaly.
That is Sipko, and he was a legit. He was number 2, right? Sipko. He was number 2, and they moved me to number 3. They made me eliminate myself with him. I was supposed to fight him for a certain amount of money. Then it didn't happen. They were gonna call off the fight, but then Interbox just stepped up and they saved the fight. I got paid way less than what I supposed to get paid. Like way less. Like if I say the number from what it's supposed to be to what I got paid to eliminate myself, you'd be like, wow, why did he take the fight? Well, I didn't care. I just wanted to fight. I wanted to get it over with. okay, let me fight Guti. I fight again. But when I fought Guti the second time, I was a little wore out. I was mentally exhausted. A lot of things went into camp. My brother was fighting Bernard Hopkins at that time, and he decided to take his camp with me to Montreal, and it turned out to be a very bad idea. I didn't train the way I supposed to. I went for a run a week before the fight in Quebec, before I was gonna move to Quebec, and I went for a run like at 12 in the night, and over there it's really cold, so there was a street that was blocked, and I decided I was feeling good that day. I decided to jump this thing so you wouldn't cross the street, and it was just a piece of wood on top of two little boulders, like stuffers, and then I stepped on it and it fall apart, and I fell right on my side. I thought I broke my leg. I was like, oh shit, everything's going wrong in this camp. Then I was struggling to make weight. It was really, really hard at the time. And then I took off to rest from falling. I took 2 days off from running, and that was bad because I couldn't make weight that time. So that fight was, I didn't feel it. And before the fight, we had a different game plan, but people from Golden Boy came when he came into the ring. They were doing lights and fireworks and all this thing. So they came running to me and they said, Librado, jump on him. All those lights, they're gonna dilate his eyes. So he won't be able to see you. For the first few rounds, he's not gonna be focused and his eyes are gonna be dilated from all that light. Blah blah blah. So I said, okay, I'll jump on him. I made the mistake to jump on him. I threw a lazy right. He came right under and hit me with a body shot. And when I was on my knees, I was in so much pain, but I could still think, and I said, you know what? This is it tonight. I don't have it tonight. I let the countdown run. When I kind of came back to my senses from the pain, from the body shot, he was already on 9. I was gonna jump up and did, but he was already waving the flag. I said, okay, that's all right. I thought I could come back from that, but I didn't. I went back and I fought Eric Luca, but from the moment I fought Eric Luca, I felt way stronger than him. I said, oh, he's not gonna beat me tonight. I'm gonna beat him up, and that's it. Then Golden Boy decides to put me in the shell for another year, and in that year, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't motivate myself to come back.
And that's when you fought the son of the legend, Aaron Pryor. You fought Aaron Pryor Jr.
Yeah, so they took me back. So I after a year, almost one more month, and it would have been a year. Or it was a year.
When you fought Eric Luca, it was May 28th, and then when you fought Aaron Pryor, it was May 6th of the following year. That's
I
crazy.
couldn't understand why that people would break, you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
that happened. And when I fought Aaron Pryor, I had a nasty toothache. One of my root canals was infected. And I said, well, if I go to the dentist, I might as well just wait after the fight. Man, I didn't feel it either. And I kind of thought I won, but you know what? They gave it to him.
Yeah, it was a majority decision, so you must have been close there. You fight later on that year. That was in May. You fight a couple months after that. Then you fight until the 2012. You fought one time, and then like over a year later, you fight for the last time, and then you hung it up. What made you decide that? How did you know, like, hey, it's time to go here?
It was together. It was Sylvia Brown, um, with Al and all of us. We sat down and we talked, and they asked me, Librado, if it's not really in your heart anymore, don't get hurt. We love you, and we want you to stay healthy. You don't need to be getting hurt anymore. And I said, okay, it's fair. I was very fortunate to have people like them that they care. Uh, and this is the fortune of my career, meeting out him and being with him, uh, just learning from him and being part of him has really changed my life, has really changed everything, the life of my kids, the life of who I am, everything, all around. And that's what I'm really grateful. And if it wasn't because of boxing, I would have never met him.
That's right.
And in a way, that's kind of it's bigger than me being a world champion, because in a way, this is the rest of my life, and they want me well for the rest of my life.
In 2013, did you have a plan B? Like after your last fight was over, and you said, "All right, that's it." Did you already know where you were going to go from here, or
No, no. So I went back to work. The only thing that I need to do. So a lot of things happened in my family. I got divorced. We went through little rough times again.
Mhm.
Within a year, everything me and my ex-wife, we split up. And I went back to work to flip burgers and just work at Johnny Rockets. And it was okay, like this is my life. It's normal for me. I'm not scared of going back to work or
Mhm.
having customer service and stuff like that, because I did it for so long. So I went back to work, and one day Sylvia calls me, and I'm thinking maybe it's for a fight. I don't know, but I answered the phone and I said, "Hey, Sylvia." After like a few months, he says, "Hey, brother, what are you doing?" And I said, "No, I went back to work, back to my regular life." "Where do you work?" "Where else?" "At Johnny Rockets, selling burgers. What else?" "No, no, 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 no. You're gonna give you 2 week notice right now. Your week notice, I don't care. You're not working there anymore. You're coming with us." I said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, you're coming with us, Librado. You're not working there." So they took me to PVC, and I'm part of the PVC team, and I'm part of Al and stuff like that. So Al is a great man to me. He is a great man to many people. He has really changed everything. He's one of those men you meet. It's like one in a lifetime, 1 in 100 years. Sometimes people don't want to see it and don't want to realize it, but he is like that. You never know him, you never hear of him,
Yeah.
because it's not about him. It's about doing the greater good for the sport and for the fighters to get the right things. And his idea of success is quietly working behind the scenes. Like everybody should see it like that, but it's not being out there doing press conferences and talking how great he is. You can see it with all his fighters. All his fighters are millionaires.
There's a lot of people, promoters or his competition, obviously, that might not like him, but they're his competition. That's obvious.
Right,
But he's a mysterious figure. He's kind of like the UFO or a Bigfoot or chupacabras. You hear about it all the time, but you never seen it.
right,
You knowing him one on one, you dealing with him. I mean, he did all this where he changed your life, like you're saying. And like you said, you thank God that he came into your life, and you even got emotional earlier, talking about it. Um,
right.
what is he like as a individual one on one for somebody that might not know who he is, seen him or anything like that? What is he like?
Not because I say it, not because of whatever, but once you see him, you know he's a great man. He's just a great man all around. He does not speak more than what he's supposed to. He would not say things he doesn't mean, and he will not tell you something that is not gonna happen. Everything that comes out of his mouth is something that is going to happen. He does not wish anybody bad. He does not act against anyone. He just does well. He knows exactly what he's doing because he's well studied. He has learned so much what is going behind scenes, what we ignore, and he knows about it. So he gives us the best opportunity that we have to get what we fight for, which is money ultimately, and with titles and all this comes the money, and he gets you the best that you can. There's some fighters that are world champions and they haven't made $100,000, but their managers, they live like kings,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
right.
there's a lot of that in boxing, not without. But yeah, you can see just all around what he's about when you see his athletes, and they are great athletes, and they want to succeed and they want to be more because he is that great person. Because they know, it's like we always say, if you know God is with you, if you know God, so you're gonna do good, you're gonna be motivated, you're gonna excel because God is with you. So Al is like that. I'm not saying that Al is a God, but he gives you that extra motivation.
He's on your
He
side
gives
at
you
all
that,
times.
right? Because you know you're gonna get the best. Nobody's gonna cheat you. Nobody's gonna use you.
Why do you think he chose you to work for you to work with him? Why did he chose you? Would you think it has to do with his long relationship he has with you with all these years that he's known you? Is he like a loyal type of person? You know, why do you think he chose you?
Yes, yes, he believes in loyalty. And one thing I would, after I retire, because I could have gone on and used my name so all the fighters can beat me up and get a name out of me.
Mhm.
I could have done that and get another few $1,000. I don't know, bad health and a couple more $1,000 on my pocket. But he didn't. And I said one time, if it's not with Al, I won't go with anybody. If Al is not helping me in my next fight, I don't want to fight. If they say no, they're not going to help me, then I don't want to fight. When all of this happened, he decided to bring with me because I knew how to speak Spanish. I kind of knew what was like the market of boxing and know about boxing. So I was very fortunate being at the right place at the right time type of thing. I was one of the first ones that he signed. It was Chris, Ariola, Bernard Forrest, me, my brother. And I'm just very fortunate that he took me with him. I'm very fortunate to have the relationship I have with him and with Sylvie Brown and everyone with the team is family.
And the way I look at it, man, is you know, we have a lot of free boxing now, and a lot of it has to do with him. And as a fan, we should be complaining or questioning it. You see free boxing, watch it. Enjoy it, respect it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's a lot of people instead they want to question it and argue about it and do all that, and it's really not gonna get you anywhere. If anything, it's gonna get the sport worse in worse condition. And what can you say if there's any one thing that you can say about Al Heyman is he's given us a lot of good free fights, and
yeah.
that's the way it should be looked at and seen. Unfortunately, not everybody sees it like that. Your job duties, do what do you help do there for the PBC?
I, I usually go to the fights where they're in California,
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, and the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
all of the West Coast. On the other side of United States, there's other people that go there. But my title in the company is a boxing advisor. I travel with certain fighters or in certain shows, and I do what they ask me. Sometimes I help and interpret and be interpreter. Sometimes I talk to be close to the fighters that are the Hispanic side, be close to them, and just being there for them. Whatever they ask me to do.
So now you're in Las Vegas, and you know what's awesome about like you were talking about Johnny Rockets and all your beginnings and all your struggles and everything. And now I think about like you, and I always see all your postings on social media and stuff, and you're traveling and hiking and keeping in shape and still looking like you did 20 years ago or whatever it might have
Yeah.
been. And you're doing all that, and man, it's awesome to see that even after boxing you're happy, you got a great job, you're still in the sport. Are you just enjoying life right now?
Yes, I am. I'm just a very grateful person. Um, I I'm studying to just learn about life and just being happy with life. Nobody owes anything, and nobody needs to be arguing about anything.
Mm.
We can spread love or we can spread hate, and why not love? You come to me or you come around me and you see nothing but positive because I want to live in that side. And sometimes negative comes out of me. Sometimes I get mad. Sometimes I say, but I don't let it rule me.
Mhm.
I want all the positive that has happened in my life and all the bad to go away, but the positive to stay because I'm a representation of what Al can do, of what the team can do. The Waxons are happy all the time. If you see them, you're familiar with the Waxons, right?
Yeah.
They're always happy. They're as happy as they could be, And Sam Watson, he's always happy, as happy as could be.
Oh yeah.
We are a representation of our him, and we are happy. We live our lives plentiful because of a great man who he is. You said, how is he like? How does he? We are his representation. So when we are happy, he is a great man.
That's right. Positive equals positive, man. The company PBC. What's going on with the company right now and with their events? Do you see anything coming up in the future as far as events from the PBC?
We haven't had any notice when everything's gonna restart and boost up again. But whatever is happening is just for all the families to be safe. And of course, when the fighters fight, they want all the family to be around and to be the loved ones to be able to attend and all that stuff.
That's right.
Which is the main goal, So they're probably gonna hold it up until they're able to do that, so everyone can attend and be there for their fighters, for their family. And as for now, we're just waiting.
Even though you're going to be here for another probably 100 years, with all the working out that you've been doing, man, how do you want to be remembered once it's all said and done? How do you want to be remembered to, well, what I call the 3 big F's, your family, your friends, your fans? How do you want to be remembered as an individual?
Well, there's always a time for everything. I'm trying to separate all that time. I don't know how to put it right now or whatever it is, but there was a time that I was a boxer, and that went fast. I was only a professional fighter for 15 years, and I have the rest of my life. I'm still in construction. I really want to be in peace with myself, with my mind, and with my heart. Everything that I do, I want to do good. And I mean it in a way where I just want to be grateful about life. And I just want to give thanks for all the opportunities that happens to me. Because from the little kid that I was in that little town to the person that I have become now, boy, it's far, far away. Many trails, many mountains, many things, and I don't know, maybe I would like to be remembered as a true hiker. I don't know, man, but I'm in construction.
Yeah. And you are that, man. You're always hiking those mountains and taking those pictures. So I know you're hiking mountains, and you did that, back then, and you're doing that today as an individual, as a human being, and as a person from God. Earlier, a bit ago, when you were talking about, or when you got a little emotional there, and I was thinking of my family, while you were talking, and how they came to the States and how they wanted to change their life, and how it must have been a struggle at many moments. But my dad passed away, but when I was a kid, but my mom,
sorry, yeah.
but my mama, is still around and kicking, and she was able to do what she wanted, and same thing, and it's always great to hear a good story, from one brother to another, man. I'm happy for you, man. I'm very happy for you, and I'm glad that you're all right. And even after boxing, there's a life for you, and not everybody can say that. And you are blessed, and you have a great job. You have great people around you, like you said, and all the best for you. And thank you very much for all your time. Thank you very much for always chatting with me whenever I send you messages and all that stuff. You're always more than happy to comply and answer, and you're always very open, man, and I appreciate that. And now that I actually got to talk to you, man, I see that everything that you said is honest, and everything is from your heart, and you're one of the nicest people, most proper, man. I don't say that often about another guy, man, but you're very proper.
Thank you, man.
You're very proper, and you're a real gentleman, man, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you. And remember, man, I always say this, I learned and I saw it. Nothing happens to us. It happens for us to grow, for us to be a better person. And we're not this fortunate. This world doesn't owe us anything. We're already way ahead of the game from the day we were born. When we were born, we needed a mother or a father to protect us. Now we have clothes, we have so much knowledge in our heads. Go out there and use it. Use it for good, for yourself. And nothing happens to us. Everything happens to us for us to make the best of it. So I like to live like that because, man, this is a beautiful world, beautiful places. And like I said, I'm going to go to San Luis Potosí. I'm going to take pictures and I'm going to send them to you.
That's awesome.
So you could go one day.
Well, thank you very much, champ. And I appreciate it. And amen to everything you said. And God bless you, man.
Same to you. God bless you.